Welcome in to JW World News Sunday edition. My name is Rick Farron. I am coming to you from the hub of the universe, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And happy Easter, or if you prefer, happy Resurrection Day. I hope it's going well for you. We got a beautiful day up in Boston, very sunny. It's about 55, 60 degrees. So I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really, truly amazing that we can have a nice day like this. And this is really the biggest day in the whole Holy Week, in Christianity's Holy Week. And we're so glad that we have an opportunity to come on Resurrection Day. Very important day. That this is it. Even though the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I got thinking about this just today, but I suppose I should have been thinking about it even years ago when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, they focus more on the crucifixion. They focus more on Jesus dying on what they would say is the stake. They put more emphasis on that than they really do on the resurrection day itself. But what day do you think is more important? I mean, think about it from a Christian viewpoint or from just a secular viewpoint. What would you think is more important? The day Jesus died or the day he was resurrected? Well, we're going to go with the day he was resurrected. In fact, it's really important. That's the most important day here in the Holy Week. And what it means is he's opened the way for people. He's bringing you into the new covenant, as they would say. So that's, if you come to grips with Jesus and you partake, which many of the Jehovah's Witnesses don't, then you can be brought into the new covenant. So anyways, I'm glad that we had an opportunity to go down to the memorial, which the Jehovah's Witnesses held last Tuesday. That would have been April 4th. And of course, sundown up here on the East Coast was 7:14. So that's when the witnesses they go right by a formula. Boy, I'll tell you what, they really try to hit the nail right on the nose. They basically, what they do is they do it once a year, and that's okay. There's no real set time. Some Christians do it every other week. Some Christians do it once a month. Some Christians do it once a year. So that's okay. The main thing is to do it. But do the Jehovah's Witnesses do it right? That's the other thing. Really, when you think about it. I was watching. I was right outside, standing boots on the ground in front of the Kingdom Hall in Wilmington, Mass., and observing all the people. And as I mentioned last night, it looks like it was the Academy Awards. Everybody was dressed to the hilt. The only thing that was missing was the red carpet. I think maybe in a year or two, if they're still having memorials, they'll probably put a red carpet out. I mean, it was really that type of an event. It was a showy display. That's all it was a showy display. And I mean that they really, I don't know who they're trying to impress, but when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, were you trying to impress other brothers and sisters? Maybe you were. I think I can remember some people that used to do that. But a lot of witnesses, too, they're just humble people, not trying to impress anybody. But, boy, there's certainly, I mean, things must have changed because I saw a marked difference in Jehovah's Witnesses in 2023 than I did in the year that Satan kicked me out of his organization in 2005. Well, what's the difference, Rick? What did you see that was different? Well, first of all, it really did look like people were dressing up more. I mean, really, they were dressed to the hilt, as you would say. And, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if people are saying, well, Rick, what's the matter with that? There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But, I'm just thinking they put more emphasis on looking good. They put more emphasis in making sure their cars are clean. Their book bags are all polished up. They put more emphasis on where they're going to be going out to eat after the memorial than they do on the memorial itself. They have no emphasis on the memorial. How could you have emphasis and really take a Jehovah's Witness taking the memorial seriously when they don't even partake? What is that all about? Well, they mention Luke, and they say how Jesus commanded all people to come and be there and pass the wine and the bread. That's a fault. That's a misnomer. That's not true. Jesus commanded his Christians to come and take of the wine and bread, and they would take it. There was no such thing as a respectful observer. Let's get real. That's a Jehovah's Witness term. Did you ever hear that term in Christendom, so to speak? A respectful observer. You're not going to find it in the Bible. You're not even going to find it in the Urban Dictionary. I mean, you're not going to find it. It's a made up word that the Jehovah's Witnesses have attributed to all these people that come to the memorial and they don't partake. But see, what they're there for, they're supposed to be observing someone that did partake. Now, in that Kingdom Hall the other day, and when I was there, I don't believe anyone partook unless things have really changed. Maybe there was, I don't know. But I know I used to partake there, and my former wife used to partake there. And, they would watch you. That's what they're supposed to be. They would watch you as the wine and the bread was passed. They would be looking out for anyone because they're the respectful observers. They got to make sure they see it. So sure enough, the wine is passed, the bread is passed, and, I'd take it. And man, I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It was unbelievable because you don't see that many witnesses taking it. So, and when they do take it, I mean, it's like, whoa, something big's going on here tonight. But just to give you an idea, we have seen more partaking of the emblems in the Jehovah's Witness world than in the past. For example, let me give you some examples here. For example, when back in 2005, that's the last time I went to the Kingdom Hall and listened to that memorial talk. And it was more, I walk away, there's more about the Passover than there is about, the death of Jesus. So sometimes you might have observed that being a witness. You would find that sometimes they would talk more about the Passover. They would go back and forth year to year, and then even more than talking about the actual death of Jesus. But so be it. I'm glad I wasn't in there the other night. It lasted, they were in there for about an hour and a half, but it wasn't anything spectacular. The parking lot was not totally full. The side streets that we were on, let me see if I got it. Well, I'm going to put a picture up just to give you an idea. That is a picture right there of some of the signs. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. We had some beautiful signs exposing the Jehovah's Witnesses. One of our newest signs we had is "Where's Tony?" And, are the Jehovah's Witnesses talking about Anthony Morris not being a governing body member anymore? Well, I'll tell you what, you know what one of the craziest excuses that the Jehovah's Witnesses are giving this year and why there's such a low memorial attendance? It's being spread around that Tony Morris, because he stepped down and because the Watchtower wasn't really forthright in letting people know, that it kind of dampened the spirit. So many couldn't show up for the memorial. Do you buy that? That's kind of like, I know Dick Borgie's on here a lot. He talks about the Aiken syndrome. Somebody in the congregation's doing something sinful, so the whole congregation's punished. So now we have Tony Morris stepping down. I'm sorry, he didn't step down. The Watchtower kicked him down, kicked him out. He no longer is one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's being spread around. Isn't that weird through the witness world that because the Watchtower didn't do it properly, that Jehovah's spirit wasn't on the memorial? Do you believe that? That is crazy, kind of like the Aiken syndrome, right? So everybody suffers because of Tony. That's a crock of baloney, believe me. But it was an interesting night. We didn't get a whole lot of people to come protest with me, and we've been doing it for a number of years. But we didn't get a whole lot. We got, we had 4 people, including myself. We have had as many as 23. And it doesn't matter. I mean, one person could do it with the signs that we had, but it's good when there's a few more with you. And I mentioned the other night, in fact, Miguel, the man that was just on Anne Marie's program, Well, he was there. Let me put a picture up. You can see him. There he is right there. And that's me. Really, now Miguel kind of spooked me out a little bit. I had no idea that he was coming to the protest. So I think you guys heard the story, but for the sake, I do see some new ones listening in here. What it was, I've been preparing for the Memorial Night demonstration protest for months, really looking forward to it. And I always get a permit from the police department in Wilmington, Massachusetts. So I did that. And about 3 hours before the program went on, I got a call from the Wilmington Police Department. And they said that they were sending an undercover armed detective down. Now, that made me a little nervous. That they were sending a detective down, and the detective called me and told me that he'll be hiding out, but he'll be there. He'll have our back. So I'm thinking, gee, do they get some type of a report coming in that there's going to be a shooter or something at the hall? Maybe they're going to come down and take out a few apostates. I wasn't sure. So I was on guard. I usually am anyways. I'm always looking over my shoulder, especially when you protest in front of a Kingdom Hall. But anyways, what happened is so we started. It was about 6 o'clock. Some of the brothers and sisters at the Kingdom Hall started coming in. But normally years ago, people were mostly there like an hour, half hour early. Everyone was there, but they kept coming in even when the memorial just started. So that was kind of unusual. But anyways, getting back to Miguel. So anyways, it's about an hour before the memorial, and I see this guy with a baseball hat on and a jacket and neatly dressed. But I'm saying, who is this guy? He's heading right for me. Who is this man coming down the street? Is he a shooter? Could he be an assassin? Is he out to get the apostates? Things run through your mind, especially when you've been hearing all this bad, cynical press on the Watchtower, people being stabbed and shot and killed. And I mean, well, what else do you think? So I see Miguel coming down the street. So I'm saying, who is this guy? Then I thought it might have been a detective, but he kept coming closer and closer. But I was ready. I was ready to take a beeline and get out of there if he started fiddling around in his pockets and trying to take a gun or something out. But anyways, you said he was Miguel, the guy you just heard, the man you just heard on the program before this. And so anyways, he stayed with us. He said he came all the way up from New Jersey to be with us. So that was really an interesting night, a very fascinating night. So the next day, Miguel and I went out to lunch together. We spent a few hours, and I really like Miguel. He's a good man. He's a very good man, and I'm glad he came all the way up from New Jersey. But anyways, it was quite the night. It was quite the night. I have to tell you, there were less people there at the memorial than there normally is. I would say 30% less. I would say that. Now, then I'm getting reports in all week long. Well, actually, since the memorial has been over, I've been getting reports coming in here to the 6 Greens. And many of the people are saying, Rick, we had low attendance. And I'm just doing some numbers here, running some numbers, and a number of people I've got information from. And most of the Kingdom Halls were down 20 to 30%, even leaning more to the 30% down. But now also, I did get information from people that there were also some Kingdom Halls that had more people. So, you try to rationalize this, you try to put it together. And what it is, the reason why some Kingdom Halls had more people than normal is the Watchtower plays tricks. I'm going to give you the other side of the story. The Watchtower is going to tell you how wonderful and great it is, but they don't tell you the little tricks. They have a whole bag of tricks they play. So what they do is they know there's going to be low attendance in a Kingdom Hall. What they will do is they'll send other Kingdom Halls to go meet in your hall. Well, we're not going to have the memorial in the Lowell Hall. We're going to have it in the Wilmington Hall. So go there. So what's that do? It pumps up the numbers, right? So you don't even hear anything about the Lowell Hall, but you hear everything about the Wilmington Hall. So that's the games the Watchtower is playing here. And they've been playing that game for years because it really is. Look, the Watchtower has got to keep getting new recruits Do you realize what a cult has to do? If a cult has to keep recruiting people, because in all cults there's always a lot of people walking out the back door. In fact, in most cases in cults there's more walking out than coming in. So the Watchtower really has to rev everything up. They got to get as many people as they possibly can to this memorial. Now I'm going to tell you, this one, there was for 2022, the figure for the memorial was 19,000. I'm sorry. The figure for the memorial for 2022 was 19,700,000. That's how many people went to the memorial in 2022. They got to beat that number. They've got to get more than the 19.7 million this time around. And I'll tell you why. Because on Saturday nights mostly, we've talked about Robert Hendricks. Well, he's the guy that does the infomercials for the Watchtower. He's the guy that goes out to some of these, small towns where they have a little television station. And Robert Hendricks, spokesman for the Watchtower, he'll tell the people it's a paid infomercial. They pay the small town media center, whether it be newspaper, whether it be broadcasting on TV. They pay them for this. So they'll get an interview on local TV, and Hendricks has been coming on for the last 2 years telling everyone, oh, isn't it wonderful? Jehovah's Witnesses, they've done so good. Even during COVID, our numbers have grown. We're getting more people to come and be with us. Jehovah's blessing us. So in view of what he's been promulgating and propagandizing in the last couple of years, they better get those numbers up. And what they did this year, oh my goodness, what a trick they pulled on people this year. What the Watchtower did back in February to really make this memorial a big attendance for them, what they did is they relaxed pioneer hours so that everybody could pioneer during the month of March and go out and do this big full-time, so to speak, campaign advertising their memorial. So what they did in February, they announced it on the letters that I get from a secret insider at the Watchtower. The letter that he sent me said that they were going to let everybody how wonderful Jehovah is, that he's making a special provision that if you would like to auxiliary pioneer for the month of March, then you could do that, and you only have to get 15 hours a month in. So the letter was suggesting that everybody should take advantage of this. This is a provision from Jehovah. So a lot of people, I mean, just think if a letter was read like that in your Kingdom Hall, and see everyone's going to, aren't you going to pioneer, Sister Zealous? Oh, Brother Faith, aren't you going to pioneer? I mean, you'd be badgered into it. So if you didn't accept the fact of them wanting you to be an auxiliary pioneer for only 15 hours a month, they're saying, come on, you're getting 10 in anyways. Another 5 isn't going to kill you. So they signed up a whole lot, millions of Jehovah's Witnesses to auxiliary pioneer during the month of March. So they had to get these numbers up, friends. They got to go above 19,700,000. If they don't, they're going to be a laughing stock. But of course, they fudge the numbers anyway. So it's so hard. How do you really make sense out of nonsense? I mean, I get on this program and I try to tell you everything. But when you got someone cheating behind your back, and you got a religion that's so willing to lie, so willing to twist the truth and facts and everything else, how can you sometimes even come across sensible when you're talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses? It's very difficult. So anyways, they went out and they tried to get all these people. So now they're going to fall short. I know they are, just from the reports that are coming in here. There is no way, brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you, there is no way that the Jehovah's Witness organization's Memorial Night numbers are going to be realistically better than even last year. If it is, they're not telling us the truth. Let's just go with that. So anyways, that's Memorial Night. And, as an apostate, I don't mind being called an apostate because I really am stepping aside from Jehovah's Witness teachings. But I am so glad. I don't know what it is. I'm getting an adrenaline rush lately. I feel very, very good, friends. And the reason why I do, when you're doing something like this for as many years as we've been doing it, it's 17 years of doing our exposing the Watchtower. When you're doing something so long and for many years you never got points on the scoreboard, it'd be like a losing team in baseball or football. You never win. You never win. I mean, then this is how it's been for years. But I have to tell you, in the last couple of years, something really happened to really get some points on the scoreboard with the Jehovah's Witnesses. All of a sudden, the world is catching up on these goons. The world is starting to see how heinous, how evil they are. And all we're reading lately, when I go to do the news on our news program here, all I'm reading is critical, negative, cynical news in the Watchtower. That wasn't always the way. If you roll the clock back, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when they were meeting at conventions in the summer, it was all good news about the witnesses. Oh, the witnesses, 100,000 witnesses are coming into New York City and they're going to spend money. And, they have all this great news about them. I don't see any great news about the Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. Every time I'm looking through the news, there's some story about some child molester, some perverted guy, some person who committed suicide because they were shunned. This is not good press. And people in the world are seeing this. But now we have governments, and I've been promulgating this and saying it. Now we have governments that are starting to come against the witnesses, and that's why I'm a happy man. That makes me happy. It's hard for just a few of us apostates out here to make any difference. But when you have governments of the world that are now coming down, and I'll tell you what, Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, Norway, Japan, and now I'm reading a story here about England. Oh yeah, England is now catching up on the witnesses as well. And there was a big article, I believe it was in the Guardian. It wasn't in that the Mirror magazine. It was in the newspaper Guardian, I believe, in England. But the headlines were child sex abuse and failure to report crimes are to be made illegal, made to be illegal. So in other words, you can't cover up child molestation any longer in England. Now you could up until this time, and they were pretty soft on it. People didn't have to report cases of child abuse. But just last Thursday, not even a week ago, this newspaper article came out, and there was an independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. And the woman, her name is Suler Braverman. Suler, she describes what's going on in England up till this point as being horrific and deeply disturbing. Thousands of victims have been coming forth providing testimonies in this inquiry that's been going on for 7 years. So they're finally getting to the end of this inquiry. 7,000 victims of abuse have come forward. And who do you think made up a good many of them? Jehovah's Witnesses. You got that one right. So I was interested as I was pondering and reading through this article. Boy, I hope they mention the witnesses. I hope they mention the witnesses. I was just hoping that the witnesses, we mentioned this article because it was a well-written article. So they go on saying that there's been a burning sense of injustice when it comes to child sex reporting and what have you. But now I kept reading for the long article, but now all of a sudden the inquiry talks about, you guessed it, the Jehovah's Witnesses. And they actually even become the star of the show. They become the headlines here in the newspaper. It says that they've done a separate investigation into the Jehovah's Witnesses in the United Kingdom after they received a large number of reports about the organization. So Isn't that something? So they didn't even mention specifically other groups that were being investigated, but they really came down heavy on the witnesses. And then the witnesses, of course, they call the branch office, right? And they wanted to get the branch office thoughts on covering up child abuse. But the branch office just said what they normally do, that Jehovah's Witnesses, uh, they insist that the congregation elders don't shield information of abuse, and the organization has a robust child protection policy. Do you believe that? I don't believe it, but I'll tell you what, if I was an elder reading this right here, right now, I would be heading for the exit door to Kingdom Hall. Let me read that to you again. This is in a statement to the newspaper from the branch office, evidently there in England. Jehovah's Witnesses insisted that congregation elders were not shielded from abuse and that the organization had robust child protection policies. Do you get what's being said here? They're saying that, the elders are more or less the ones that are now responsible. They weren't shielded, according to Watchtower here. They weren't shielded from exposing child molesters, but we know they were. They're lying through their teeth. It drives me crazy when I read things like this. But now I'm thinking about the elders. You better start heading for the exit door, because if there's any issues, they're going to throw you under the bus. They really, really are. And, I'm thinking, in fact, a person gave me some information right after that newspaper article was released in England. There was an all-day elders meeting called. So what do you think? Now, this is right after that newspaper article was released, according to sources coming here to the six screens. I got information there was an all-day elders meeting just a couple of days after the newspaper came out. It's probably some type of a stunt where they're getting all the elders together to prepare them for the windfall of lawsuits and legal ramifications that are coming down on the Watchtower. Well, let's stop right there for a second. Anyone have any thoughts? If you have anything to say, go ahead, check it out. Call me. Just hit *6. Come in, say hello to me. What's on your mind today? Go. Yes.
Hey, this is Chewy.
Yeah,
Hey,
sure.
there was also another article that was out. I saw it. I forget where I got it at, but there was another one that was going over in England. It was going to the Supreme Court, and I don't think it was really connected with the one that you were talking about. So this one right here was going to the Supreme Court, and there's actually video footage of it on the internet, like there was on the Australian Royal Commission. It's pretty heavy over there.
Oh, yeah. So isn't it great, Chewy, that the countries are now coming down on the witnesses? That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I love it. I'm not able to get on. I'm not able to get on YouTube and do YouTube videos and stuff like that. But you just got to think out of the box sometimes, on how you want to do it. I'm not going to say how I do mine, but I will say this: that I have attempted to contact every governor in the United States, and I have with about 45 of them, or I will back off, it'd be about 42, 43 of them, and 3 of them have responded. I'm not going to say how I did it because I don't want nobody else doing it, but I got one of them I'm really happy about, and I'm doing the same thing with the senators. I'm contacting all the senators. I had one governor, I'm not going to say which state, but I contacted him and I sent him, at first I sent him the newspaper article, or the article from Pittsburgh about that woman testifying for the grand jury. And then he texted me back. He says, what? And I said, well, this is systemic. And then so I texted him back. Well, I contacted him. I didn't want to text. I contacted him back. And he said, so what seems to be the problem with these people? And this is about a conversation over about a week. So I sent him Mark O'Donnell's article from the Atlantic. And then I sent him, on back of that, I sent him a Lloyd Evans video on how you can make the connection between the Shepherd of Flock book and the Branch book on how the blue envelope gets there. 5 days later, he says, I promise I will look into this for you in our state. I promise I'll look into it. He says, and then he said, let me know if you've got any more resources. Oh, man. Oh, you don't know what kind of world you just opened up, dude. And I told him a little history back behind Barbara Anderson and how I knew her and her husband, and I sent him the link to her website. So he should have a brain full when he gets done.
Oh, Chewy, you're doing a good job. And I know if your wife still wasn't an active witness, you'd be out there going like crazy and doing YouTubes and protesting and everything. Good for you. We love you, buddy. You're doing a good job. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
Thank you. Well, my goodness, this is JW World News Sunday edition. Anything you want to say? Come on, say hello to us. You're on with us.
Yeah, hello? Hello, Mr. Farron.
Yeah, in fact, we'll take you, Ken, then we'll go to Mike next. Yeah, yes, Ken. Both from Michigan. Both guys from Michigan. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that something is coming down amongst these governments. It's about time. I wish it would have come down a long time ago. Crack down on the pedophilia and everything else that's going on with the Watchtower Society. I mean, I'm just about sick and tired of them, getting away with committing felonies in the name of religion. I'm getting sick and tired of them putting themselves above the laws of the land, above the laws of God, and so forth. And then they've got the audacity to tell us we are the only true religion. And baloney.
Yeah.
If there's a true religion, I wonder what the false religion's like. So
yeah, well, that's a good way of putting it. You got it. Well, good. No, you always like to hear from you. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll keep listening right here, so I guess we'll take the next caller, okay?
Well, there we go. The next call is right from your state. You guys might even live near each other. Come on, Mike. You're on with us.
Oh, hello, Rick. Yeah, I just want to say this, Rick, and I'm not going to be argumentative, but if I say something wrong, please correct me.
All right, now just go slow now. Okay.
I'm saying is how I don't understand how the government, this government in this country now, you are not going to get justice for child abuse. This government promotes child abuse, Rick. We just had the other day I'll call him the pedophile in chief. The spokesman for the White House, that John Pierre name.
Yeah.
She just said basically, Rick, it's up to the children of how old they want to be when they cut their nuts off. That's from the government. That's from the highest law in the land. And I'm not trying to be derogatory, but that's a fact. In schools, Rick, teachers are grooming kids. They're sexually grooming kids. It's a fact. I live in a small town, Rick. I heard about these books in school that they're promoting with kids, or they're in public libraries. There's a book called Gender Queer. So I wanted to find out, is this I live in a small town. Do they have this book in my public library? Guess what, Rick? They got it. I saw it, and I downloaded it on my phone. It's disgusting. It's evil. It's demonic. This world is going to be destroyed. This world is evil, Rick. You're not going to get justice for child abuse in this country. I'm sorry.
Well, no. Well, I'm with you with that. I'm agreeing with you, Mike. I'm not going to debate that with you. It's a shame. It really is a shame. And you used the word there that got my attention: demonic. It is demonic. What person, what human being would bring themselves that low? There's got to be something causing them to do this. Well, what is it? Well, it's the demons.
I don't know. I don't know. I was listening to people, Rick. It was the other day. I was listening to Tucker Carlson. I was at my dad's house, and there's a man. His name's Jason Whitlock. Look it up. He actually said, he's a black man. He used to be a sportscaster. He's probably in his mid to late 50s. He said, well, we need to separate. He started talking, and it seemingly, I was watching it, and so I think they cut him off the air. They didn't like what he was saying. All of a sudden, went to a commercial. But he was basically saying, I don't totally agree with his views. The way the world is now, you got normal people, and then you got demonic people. You can't reason with these people. There's people, they actually It's like it's a religion. Well, the other day, I don't know if you saw it. There was the woman that she had to swim against that man in the college swim meet.
Right.
They wanted to kill her. They're out there. She had to hide in a closet for like 3 hours because there was a mob out there screaming, "Trans women are women," using just foul, nasty language, all because she thinks that a woman is a woman and a man is a man. You can't. These people are demonic. You can't argue. Well, you can't even reason with somebody like that.
Well, see, I kept you on because you're using the word demonic, and of course that's something that I'm in tune with you with. Yeah, it's terrible what we say. Yeah.
So, right, but one thing I'll say, Rick, we have to be living in the time of the end. I mean, you're a lot older than me. You're my father's age. There's things that are going on now that just in the last 5 years, Rick, the world has gone crazy. You know, you're worried about the Watchtower. It's going down. Like older people, I worry about. I don't know. This world's done.
Oh yeah,
it's going down.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, the information I got coming in here from people all this week on the memorial, they went to it and they said, "Rick, this is what happened." And the people writing to me, they said it's all baby boomers. You know, it's people my age, your dad's age, and there's no millennial people, there's no Gen Xers. They're not going. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, when I said that, I just mean the world in general. The world we live in, this world is evil. This country is evil.
Well, I think people are waking up to it all, Mike. It's taken them a little longer, but
well, I don't know, Rick. You know what? I don't think that. I think people today are just people aren't. I mean, like I say, I'm in my 40s, and I've talked to my sister about it, and I said, we went to school. It wasn't that long ago. We never heard anything. You never had a teacher talking about sexual stuff. They had health class. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, and it's all happened in just a short period of time, and it's not going to get better. It's not going to change. It's not going to go. There's people talk. It's over.
Well, I want you to give it some serious thought. And I know that you love the Bible, you do, and you're pretty good at it. So keep safe, keep at least having a belief system in place, because I don't know what people would do without a belief system, Mike. I don't know what they're going to rely on in the future.
But that's right. But I know, like I said, I sometimes listen to Tucker Carlson, and he was saying these leftist people with their crazy ideas, that's like it's their religion, because somebody's got to have, like you just said, people don't believe in God anymore, but they got to have something to believe in. Some people believe in like Bitcoin. That's almost like a religion for some people. They put their, they have something because it's natural for man to be, some kind of a belief. But today people believe in their politics. I mean, you can't argue with them when it comes to political stuff. If you don't agree with these people, they don't even want to talk to you.
No. Well, no, it is that bad. And, I'm looking out my window here and I can see across the way over there. There's a Starbucks. And Mike, you should see the people driving through that Starbucks. It's a constant line of people, and they're paying $5, $6, $7 for a cup of coffee. They're oblivious. They're oblivious to what's going on in the world around them. They have no clue. Yeah.
I'm not as dumb as everybody thinks I am, but I'm going to tell you. But listen, like, one thing is, I always listen. I'll give you a couple of people you should listen to. As an agent, I don't know if you heard of Robert Kiyosaki. I listen to him sometimes. He wrote that book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, but he knows a lot about finances and then like going back. But I'm sure you heard about this idea, with the petrodollar, that if that ends, which means, okay, not to get off subject, but the idea is like all nations have to have dollars, American dollars, to buy oil from OPEC. Like from the Saudis.
Right.
Well, if that ends, then the dollar could collapse. And they said, like, everything could just fall apart overnight.
Yeah.
Everyone will say that can't happen, but it has happened in the past. Read about, like, the Weimar Republic, after World War I. That's kind of what led to Hitler coming to power. But they say that in the Weimar Republic, the money just collapsed in, like, just a few days.
Yeah, well...
If that happens, Rick, it's going to be hell on earth.
Well, I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I mean that's I don't know if you're listening last night to a program. We had this Fritz Springmeier on. I don't know if you follow him or not, but he come on.
I knew he was going to come on. So
Yeah.
that's why I didn't want to listen and get angry.
All right. Well, no, it's interesting, but he says the same things as well. So, hey, I'm not discounting it. Well, Mike, thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate it. Always good to talk to you. Thank you. All right. So we got a couple of minutes left and we're going to the Christian Court. You don't want to miss that program today. Got some great questions we'll be asking. Hey, this has been a good week. I'm feeling good. Like I told you, I really am. And it's not just the weather. I think protesting in front of that Kingdom Hall, I think the adrenaline rush is still in me. I'm having a hard time getting that out of my system. I'm serious. I had a good time the other night, and I want to thank those that came up there and protested with us as well. So we've got more programming coming up. We got the Christian Court. Now, that's a relatively new program we got here on the Six Screens Network. But, in the world of Christianity, there's sometimes peculiar little situations that pop up where one Christian says, well, I can do it. And another Christian say, no, I can't do it. And so there's a little bit of a debate going on in that. But we're going to be answering some of those peculiarities in the world of Christianity coming up next on the Six Screens. Hey, I'll tell you what. I want you to stay with us. Now, when we get into Christian programming, I know a lot of people head for the mountains, but please don't do that. Stay with us. And I want to thank the people who called in here today. We're going to be going to the court now, so I'm going to end this broadcast right here and then get over to the other studio where I can get in and bring the people into the court. Thank you very much for being with us.